Hello there. How you doing? Good? Great. Oh, is that a new control device? Use the left stick to run about. Same as always.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first of a 3-part analysis of the upcoming LittleBigPlanet 2 Move Pack, a DLC which will put in the hands of creators new and rather powerful tools specifically designed to take advantage of the PlayStation Move. But before investigating those tools, it's worth mentioning that going by the beta software this analysis is based upon, it's quite likely that a free patch will come along with the new pack, adding move support to the whole game as well. In fact, as you can tell by the tutorial level going on here, all the basic LittleBigPlanet controls have been remapped on the Move, ideally allowing Move users to enjoy any LittleBigPlanet 2 content, be it Move-based or not. So before getting to the new tools, I guess it's worth discussing a bit how Move controls have been implemented. Just like tilting the DualShock 3 allows to control Sackboy's head, tilting the Move allows to do the same, but in a much more comfortable and intuitive way. To bring up the puppet, you press the square button as usual, while its navigation works via either the D-pad, the analog stick, or by tilting the Move itself whilst holding down the trigger. You can also use L1 and L2 to scroll through pages. One cool thing to point out is that the Move sphere reflects the player color of choice. As far as I know, this is the first Move-compatible game to ever allow the end user to pick up a different color for the sphere. Moving on to stickers, you place and rotate them on either the Sackboy or the environment via pointing and twisting respectively, the left stick allowing to change their size or flip them. When customizing your Sackboy, L1 and L2 allow to turn him around, but you need to hold down L2 to keep his head steady, otherwise it would keep tilting along with the Move as you try to place stickers on it. Also, there is no way to rotate the camera vertically like you can do with L2 and R2 on the DualShock 3. These are minor annoyances though. After all, LittleBigPlanet 2 is not about placing stickers on a Sackboy, and you can always use the DualShock 3 for character customization anyway. As for acting, the D-pad allows to change expressions as usual, while holding down L2 allows to control both arms simultaneously. More specifically, one arm is controlled via the stick, while Move tilting controls the other one. As for slapping, a quick flick of the Move does with the left Sackboy arm what a quick flick of the stick does with the right one. You can slap Sackboys and Sackbots in either direction with both, just like when using the DualShock 3, the difference here being that it's just more natural and effective to do so with the Move. As for the gadget you can use throughout the game, they all work as intended with the Move. Using the grappling hook, for example, is simply a matter of holding down the Move trigger to fire it at the closest grabbable material and tilting the stick to swing around. The only gadget that benefits in some way from the Move controls is the Creatinator. Here the Move allows to jump and aim simultaneously with little effort, since the latter action is stick-based, allowing to keep the thumb on the jump button at any time. A new Move-specific gadget is also present in the DLC, and it's called Brain Crane. As you can see, it allows to grab objects and move and rotate them around like you could with a cursor, but with a nice rubber band effect to it, so that it makes manipulation feel more physical, like the Sackboy is actually using telekinesis powers. Here are some gameplay examples from the first story levels included in this pack to give you an idea about how it works and what it allows to do. course the brain crane allows to grab other Sackboys as well, which is something the game takes advantage of in building unique cooperative dynamics. Okay, moving on to the new tools, allow me to first offer a quick overview of what's in the package. Let's begin with these three new sensors, which are not strictly move related but are quite useful nonetheless. The angle sensor senses when an object is facing a given direction. You can set the angle range within which it will trigger. The speed sensor senses how fast an object is moving. Here you can set the movement speed at which it will trigger, as well as which movement directions to keep track of. So you can set it to trigger when moving in any direction, up down only, left right only, or in just one of the four possible directions. Finally, the rotation sensor tracks rotation speed rather than movement speed, and you can set it to track rotation in both directions or just one. This one here is the motion recorder. What it allows to do is to pick up an object with a move and record any of its movements along with events triggered by pressing some of the move buttons. This one here is a Movinator, easily the most important tool in the pack, as it basically grants access to most of the move functions just like the Controlinator does to the DualShock 3. On the left side you can see a representation of the navigation controller, while the move controller is represented on the right side. As you can tell, besides the buttons we have got a quite generous array of sensor outputs which allow to track all sorts of move motions. This one tracks the vertical rotation. This one here tracks the horizontal rotation. This one tracks turning rotation, meaning the rotation occurring when holding the controller vertically. And this one tracks how the controller is twisted. The last two outputs track the speed at which the move sphere moves up, down, left and right, as well as in and out along the z-axis. Now, this little logic element you see here is the cursor tag. It can only be placed on a Movinator, and when you do so, it spawns a fully controllable cursor whenever your Sackboy enters the Movinator. On a cursor-related note, I'd also like to bring your attention to these odd sensors, as they have been updated to reflect cursor interaction. The grab sensor now allows to set it so that it detects whenever an object is grabbed by the Sackboy or the cursor, as well as whenever the cursor is just hovering the object, be it grabbable or not. As for the material tweaker, its special properties section allows to set it so that it can be grabbed by just the Sackboy, just the cursor, or both. Finally, a new move-specific tool is provided in the Functions section of the tools bag. It sits near the new Slice and Dice function and it's called Paint. Here is just a tease of what it does. More on that in the third part of this analysis. Okay, now let's get deeper into this analysis by focusing our attention on the Movinator. While you see me sitting there checking the Movinator outputs, you might be wondering why am I holding a DualShock 3 instead of a navigation controller. Well, that's because I'm in Create mode, and in Create mode you need the DualShock 3 to use the tools, as the interface is still based on that control system. So no, you can't use the Move to create. Anyway, just like the Controlinator, the Movinator allows to control Sackbots as well, and the control system is the very same we have seen earlier when talking about playing the main game with the Move. That said, there are a couple of issues worth mentioning. As you can tell by the red and blue lights in the background turning on as I push either X or the Move button, while these buttons are separate inputs on the Movinator, they both make the Sackbot jump just like they do with the Sackboy. This can be a problem if you want to have one of those buttons triggering an action that doesn't involve jumping, because the Sackbot will jump regardless. Another issue relates to when using the Move for controlling something that was built around a Controlinator. When you sit in a Controlinator, the Move behaves as both the right analog stick and a 6-axis sensor simultaneously, meaning unpleasant things can occur when you happen to sit on a contraption that makes use of both those inputs for different things. Not only that, the way the virtual 6-axis sensor reads Move tilting is quite odd as well. Notice the way this sponge connected to the Controlinator sensor reacts to Move tilting. A final limitation comes from the lack of a surrogate for the R2 trigger. There is simply no way to press R2 with the Move. So again, if a DualShock 3 based contraption uses R2 for something, you won't be able to use it with the Move. So while I said you will probably be able to play the whole game with the Move, some user-generated content might not work as nicely with it. Okay, now let's see how you can take advantage of the flexibility provided by the many sensors of the Move to control stuff in LittleBigPlanet 2 in various ways. In this first example, I'm controlling a metal cube with the Move pointed towards the screen, its vertical and horizontal rotation outputs connected to an advanced mover, and its twist sensor connected to a joystick rotator. In this other case here, I have connected the front-back vertical rotation and the left-right turning rotation outputs to an advanced mover, and the up-down vertical rotation output along with the left-right turning rotation one to a joystick rotator, effectively recreating joystick-like controls. Here instead I have connected the directional speed sensors to the advanced mover and the turning rotation sensor to a joystick rotator, hence achieving something very close to one-to-one position tracking of the move on a bidimensional level. As for depth tracking along the z-axis, while it is possible to track it precisely as this quick example demonstrates, you can't really move things in and out as smoothly as this might suggest due to the three different planes into which depth is divided in a LittleBigPlanet. So the most you can do is having objects jump in and out like you see this cube doing after having connected the in-out speed sensor of the Movinator to an in-out mover placed on the cube. Since we are on the subject of position tracking, it's important to note that what you are seeing here is the result of speed tracking coupled with the highest deceleration value on the advanced mover rather than actual position tracking. I'm basically faking position tracking here, since absolute sphere position tracking is actually unsupported.
As you can see here, while I do get a warning upon hiding the sphere along with little to none on-screen reaction to its movements, when I move the hidden sphere to a different position and then uncover it, the metal block doesn't snap to the new position. Considering the incredibly deep access we are given to all the move sensors, this is an omission you can hardly complain too much about, especially if you take into account the consequences of implementing such a feature. For instance, you would need to give creators and users means to independently adjust the sensitivity of position tracking. This is not to say I'm totally fine with this though. As I will discuss in the third part of this analysis, the lack of position tracking is a problem with regards to pointing dynamics, albeit not a huge one. Anyway, before ending this video, I want to share with you a couple of simple demos I made while investigating the possibilities of the Movinator. In this one I'm controlling two game objects simultaneously, a sackbot and a torchlight. In this other one here, instead of moving something, I'm using the move sensors to control the camera in different ways. I can pan it around, tilt it, roll it, zoom in and out, and all of the above simultaneously. Pretty cool, huh? And this is just a small taste of what you can do with the Move in LittleBigPlanet 2, so don't miss the next videos for much more. Ciao!